For centuries, a book of staggering importance was whispered about in hushed tones, then seemingly vanished from history. We're not talking about a lost treasure map or a forgotten city full of gold. We're talking about a scripture of the Bible, a book that holds narrative so powerful, it could change everything you thought you knew about God, angels, and the destiny of humanity. This is the Book of Enoch, and the real mystery isn't just what's inside its ancient pages, but why they took it out. Why was a book once revered by early Christianity, quoted by the apostles themselves, and central to ancient Jewish thought, almost entirely erased from our collective memory? It was condemned to obscurity, and today, we're going to uncover exactly what secrets its hidden depths hold. The book claims to be the work of Enoch, a figure who is the great-grandfather of the famous Noah. If you open a standard Bible, you'll find him mentioned in just 3 brief, tantalizing verses. Genesis simply says that Enoch walked with God, and then he was no more, because God took him. That's it. It's an incredible cliffhanger, right? He didn't die. But where did he go? What did he see? The Book of Enoch provides the full, epic story. It's like the director's cut of his life. The text details his breathtaking visions, his travels across the celestial realms of heaven and the darkest corners of the earth, and the prophecies he received about divine judgment that would shape the future of mankind. Now, before you think this is some modern-day hoax or a piece of fan fiction, let's be clear. This text was a foundational document for ancient Jewish scholars. For the early Christian communities, it was widely accepted as legitimate scripture. In fact, if you flip to the New Testament book of Jude, you'll find it quotes directly from Enoch's prophecies. Verse 14 says, Enoch, the 7th from Adam, prophesied about them, and then it quotes a passage that you won't find anywhere in the Old Testament. Where is it from? You guessed it, the Book of Enoch. So, if it was so important, what happened? How did it go from being sacred text to forbidden knowledge? Over a few hundred years, something changed dramatically. As the early church began to consolidate its power, formalize its doctrines, and decide which books would make it into the final version of the Bible we know today, Enoch was progressively marginalized. Eventually, it was rejected. Why the sudden fear? Why cast out a book that early believers held so dear? The reasons are complex, but they boil down to a simple, unsettling truth: the stories Enoch tells are too extreme. They provided answers to biblical mysteries that the church fathers ultimately found too messy, too graphic, and frankly, too dangerous for the public to know. Think about it. The official canon presents a relatively neat, simplified narrative of heaven, angels, and the fate of humanity. Enoch's version, it's anything but neat. It pulls back the curtain on the cosmic drama in a way that is raw and unfiltered. It explained the origins of evil in a way that was far too specific for comfort. And no part of this forgotten wisdom is more consequential or more terrifying than the story of the fallen angels. This is the heart of the matter. The Book of Enoch provides a detailed, first-hand account of the sons of God mentioned in Genesis chapter 6. While Genesis is brief, Enoch gives us the full, horrifying story. He tells of 200 powerful angels, led by a figure named Samyaza, who looked down from heaven and were consumed by desire for human women. They made a pact, descended to earth on Mount Hermon, and committed the ultimate transgression. They didn't just mingle with humanity, they corrupted it. These angels, called the Watchers, taught humans forbidden knowledge. They revealed the secrets of warfare, teaching men how to forge swords and shields. They taught women the art of deception with cosmetics and jewelry. They introduced sorcery, astrology, and divination, unleashing a torrent of knowledge that humanity was not ready for. From the unions between these fallen angels and human women, a monstrous offspring was born, the Nephilim. The Book of Enoch describes them as giants, towering figures with an insatiable appetite. They devoured all of the crops and resources of mankind. When that wasn't enough, they began to devour humans themselves. The world descended into chaos, violence, and despair, groaning under the weight of this cosmic rebellion. The cries of humanity reached the heavens, and the archangels Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down and saw the bloodshed and lawlessness that had consumed the earth. They brought the case before God, who then passed a terrible judgment. This is where the story connects directly with the biblical narrative we all know. God's judgment was the Great Flood. He declared that he would wipe the slate clean, washing away the corruption of the Watchers and the violence of their giant offspring. Noah was chosen to preserve life, but the flood was a direct consequence of this angelic rebellion, an event detailed far more explicitly in Enoch than anywhere else. But what happened to the fallen angels? According to Enoch, they weren't forgiven. They were captured, bound in chains, and cast into an abyss, a fiery prison in the uttermost ends of the earth, where they would be held in darkness until the final day of judgment. The spirits of the Nephilim, however, were not entirely destroyed. Because they were of a mixed, unholy origin, part spirit, part flesh, their spirits were condemned to roam the earth after their physical bodies were destroyed in the flood. The Book of Enoch claims these wandering, disembodied spirits are what we now know as demons or evil spirits, forever plaguing humanity. This explanation for the origin of evil and demons was incredibly influential in early thought, but you can probably see why it made later church leaders nervous. It presents a narrative where a significant portion of evil in the world isn't just a result of human sin, but a direct consequence of a rebellion in God's own angelic court. It's a messy, complicated origin story. It was easier to simplify the message: humanity sinned, Adam and Eve fell, and that's the source of our problems. The story of cosmic beings corrupting the human bloodline was just too out there. Furthermore, Enoch's detailed descriptions of heaven and the cosmos were also a source of controversy. He describes a multi-layered heaven, a flat earth with pillars and intricate astronomical cycles that were tied to a divine 364-day calendar. As scientific understanding and theological doctrines evolved, these literal, almost scientific descriptions became problematic. It was easier to speak of heaven in purely spiritual, metaphorical terms than to grapple with Enoch's detailed, and to some, primitive cosmology. The church opted for a simpler, less controversial path, so the book was suppressed. In the Western world, it was almost completely lost for over 1,000 years, known only through fragments and references in other texts. It was only in 1773 that a Scottish explorer named James Bruce discovered 3 complete copies of the book in Ethiopia. It turns out the Ethiopian Orthodox Church had never removed it from their biblical canon. For them, it had always been, and remains, Holy Scripture. The rediscovery of the Book of Enoch sent shockwaves through the theological world. Suddenly, this lost book was back, and its contents challenged centuries of established doctrine. It filled in the gaps of biblical stories we thought we knew, offering a radical new perspective on the age-old struggle between good and evil. What Enoch's story ultimately reveals is a universe far more complex and chaotic than we might imagine. It suggests that the boundaries between the divine and the human are more fragile than we think, and that cosmic events have had a direct and terrifying impact on our history. Whether you see it as literal history or powerful allegory, the Book of Enoch forces us to ask some profound questions. Why was this knowledge hidden? And what does it mean that a story so central to early faith was intentionally forgotten? It serves as a powerful reminder that history is written by the victors, and that even the sacred texts we hold dear are the product of centuries of debate, selection, and sometimes suppression. The story of Enoch is a testament to the idea that sometimes the most important truths are the ones that someone, somewhere, tried to make us forget. Thanks so much for diving into this ancient mystery with us today. If you enjoyed this exploration, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into forgotten history and hidden knowledge. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.